Real talk, raw truth, raging hearts. Welcome to From the Minds of Raging Brats. Like, share, and subscribe.
Hi, I'm Heather, and welcome to From the Minds of Raging Brats. This is my co-host.
I'm Ashley.
So, how has your week been?
It's been pretty good, but honestly, it's been really hot in Medford, and if we could just knock down the tent by 10, 15 degrees, I would be so happy.
I honestly rarely leave the air conditioning because of that, so I feel it. So, this topic appears to have come straight from your soul. What made you want to talk about it?
I love when we have differing opinions, so that is definitely one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this. But today our topic is going to be how relationships aren't how they were in our grandparents' time and how things have evolved, devolved, and all of that. In my opinion, a lot of these have happened for good reasons, and we're going to go over that. And I feel it's really important because I see it brought up more and more to talk about why things are different.
Honestly, I have been sitting with this for a long time because while the realization that women's rights and kids' rights have come a long way and thank God for that. Like, I'm not, in no way am I shaming that or saying that's a bad thing. Let's start with that because I don't want to hear later like, oh my God, no. Protection and safety is for every human being is first and foremost. But that being said, it's really gotten to this place where relationships are just in the gutter. They're not, the people are constantly looking for the exits. Like, it's all about the red flags instead of, oh, let you and me have these conflicts so that we can sit down and talk about them and both of us grow in our perspective, in our person, working through the conflict and building compromise. And not only that, but when you have that safety in in your intimate relationship for that, it makes you feel more confident when you find conflict out in the world. You don't feel like that person is just attacking you when at home you have conflict and it's not an attack. It's a time for growth. It's a time for communication. And I really think we've gotten to a place where we've forgotten that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. For me, I have no idea or no issue with the idea of being in a relationship per se. My issue is marriage. I'll gladly tell y'all I'm a coward when it comes to even the thought of marriage. Like, I turn into a little sissy bitch. But I think I think for me, my issue has always been I see what marriage is supposed to be, like the happy couple, the communication, like the things working through life together, and that sounds awesome to me. But I have literally never seen a happy marriage. And so I think that's why it personally terrifies me.
Well, and that's kind of what I'm getting to. Like, let's take, for example, let's start with my grandparents' era, the 40s to the 60s. Okay,
Oh.
in the 1940s, only about 2 to 3% of ever married women in the US were separated or divorced. And that is straight from the BGSU divorce change over 100 years. Like, that's a documented history. Divorce spiked post World War II to 3.4 divorces in every 1,000 people in 1947, but dropped back to 2.1 in 1958. And that is sourced from the Business Insider Historical Divorce Status. Divorce was stigmatized and often financially, legally, and socially impossible for women. Marriage roles were rigid. Men as providers, women as homemakers. Abuse and emotional dissatisfaction were often hidden to save face. It's really easy to look back with rose-colored glasses, but there was a lot of unspoken pain in those relationships. Women were expected to just take it no matter what.
And take it could be whatever the husband decided it should be. A beating, a rape, a manipulation.
A hospitalization. It
Yep.
definitely.
Yeah. Like Heather was saying, it was an almost impossibility, because up until the 70s, if a woman was to initiate a divorce, it was almost a guarantee that she would lose her children. Dad was automatically given custody, and imagine how terrifying that has to be. You need to flee from abuse, but you know you will be leaving your children with your abuser, and you are their buffer. That's terrifying.
And it's why many women died in those situations. But then we move into the transition era, which is the 70s to the 90s.
Yeah.
Divorce rate doubled between the 60s and the 80s. No-fault divorce began in California in 1969 and spread nationwide.
Yeah.
By the late 70s, around 2/3 of divorces were initiated by women, and that's sourced from the National Affairs on Divorce. Marital happiness declined 70% of men and 67% of women in the early 70s to 63% of men and 62% of women by the 80s.
Yeah.
Therapist Julie Schwartz Gottman quoted, "Conflict is connection. It's how we figure out who we are, what we want. It's how we bridge our differences and find similarities." And that can be found on Goodreads by her. Couples therapy emerged more mainstream, and women's liberation created economic dependence and changing expectations.
Yeah. So, and to really break this down a little bit further, why there was so many more women getting divorce proceedings. Sorry, my math is not wanting to work with me today, y'all. But so in 1974 was the first time that a woman could get a credit card in her name, and it was because of the Equal Credit Opportunity Act. Okay? Marital rape was still legal until 1993. 31 years. That's it. That's been illegal. And the no-fault things was amazing, because it used to be that a woman had to prove why she should be allowed to not be there. So she had to prove she was getting abuse. Good luck getting a police report on that back then. She has to prove that he's being financially abusive. Well, you're not even allowed to have a credit card, so how is he abusing you? Okay, and then was the domestic violence. That wasn't only normal, it was protected. Police would come there and ask what you did to provoke your husband. You tried to go to a judge about it, and he said, know your place, protect your children.
Yeah, there weren't a lot of protections for women. That is for sure. Or for children. I mean, statistically, I think dogs were outlawed to be abused before children. I didn't look up that statistic for today, so don't quote me exactly, but it's either women or children were illegalized abuse of after animals, which is like astounding.
Right?
Like you gave man's best friend more rights than your wife or your child. Wait, what?
Right.
I'm
An actual
confused.
another person?
Yeah. That's a little confusing, I think, for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, but we really have to like look at that time and age and like the things they were doing in the media and to convince people that the woman's place after World War II was to go back into the home. They didn't need them on the workforce anymore, they said. They needed to go back home, right back into abuse, right back into where they thought a woman's place should be. They had commercials that made it seem like a woman's happiness should only be centered on her children and her husband, and if you had any thoughts like that, that you may be disturbed. And as they were selling us the idea, or trying to sell women the idea that you will be happier back in your original role, depression rates were skyrocketing. Valium in 74 was the most prescribed medication in all of America, and it had only been released on the market 10 years prior. And they targeted housewives.
Of course. Of course they did. Anything to reduce the raging hormones and the back talk and the independent thought process. But I really want to emphasize that while that was happening, there was also a lot of relationships that were built strong on healthy communication that raised healthy families.
Yeah. And I
And
know that must be true because look at some of the amazing people that came out of those generations.
and I've seen, like, I have personally known people that grew up at the same time as me that had stable families that I often looked up to. Um, you know, at some points fantasized about being a part of instead of the life I had. Um, so I have seen healthy relationships in practice, but not that were permanent fixtures in my life to be long-term influences, just long enough to, keep the whisper of a hope of a dream alive in my heart that someday maybe that's me.
Yeah.
And maybe that's unrealistic, but I've seen it. Like, I've seen it's possible. So once you see something's possible in real life, it's really hard to tell your brain it doesn't exist when you know for a fact it does.
Yeah. I could definitely see how that would play a factor in it. And like, I just want to let everybody listening know, like, when I am talking badly about merit and it's not great and it's not whatever, these are my opinions for myself. And like, the facts are facts. You can't unfact a fact. But my opinions on marriage are for myself. If you are in a healthy relationship and you're happy and you want to get married and you feel like that is the right thing for you, do not let any podcaster change your mind on what you want to do on your life. I'm just a little bit negative, y'all.
Well, and like, it makes sense because, like you said, you've never seen that in practice. And if you've
Well,
never seen that, for the same reason that I can't turn off the hope in my brain, you can't manufacture it in yours when you've never been given that perspective.
like I was talking to my mom earlier about it, and I was like, every single marriage I've ever seen has been abusive. And she's like, no. And I was like, even if it was emotional or mental, abuse is abuse. So she's like, even if she didn't like take it as abuse, she just talked it like they didn't necessarily get along. I'm like, that's still abuse.
You're like, just because you didn't call it abuse doesn't mean it wasn't.
Ever running story with my family, man.
I understand.
But I do believe for other people, they can get married and find beautiful relationships and be happy and find their person. And I encourage you to do so. that is just not my path at the moment.
Well, and I'll be real honest, I didn't used to think so, but the more I look back on my life, I think that I probably had like angels along my path, giving me glimpses of hope to keep me clinging to this plane, because otherwise I don't think I'd have made it to where I am today. Like,
Yeah.
without those times of amazing human kindness or human connection, I probably would not have reached this stage, to be honest.
Yeah. And see, I think just like the marriages that from then compared to now, like now people can get the tools to get help, couples therapy. They can actually easily find YouTube channels that talk, help them learn open communication, new like things to try. Like I do think keeping a healthy relationship was probably a lot harder in a lot of ways back then than it is now.
Well, they didn't have the same therapy tools because therapy was still stigmatized. They didn't have the emotional intelligence that people do today. Um, there was a lot less tools, but they still, it was like a different mentality then. Like, it's like today's day and age, so many things that are hot button topics didn't matter to us back then. Like even if it was a stigmatized or a taboo thing, it was like, cool, but if that's your thing, that's all fucking you. Just keep it to yourself. We don't give a shit. Like, it really was not, we have to categorize every single human in every category to make sure they fit into whatever box we want them in today, so we can either raise them up and celebrate them or persecute them and cancel them. It's like, wait, what? How about you just let people be fucking people, and as long as they're not treading on your freedoms, leave them the fuck alone.
Yeah. Yeah. And see, I think that's another thing, like the reason why relationships have changed, because we do view it, like you were saying, differently. When you got married back then, it was for life. You knew you were gonna have your kids with them, unless, like, God forbid something happened to them. You were gonna get old with them. You were gonna die with them. That was your forever person. Now,
Yep.
we hope. Uh, I don't know a single person that has gone into a marriage in the past 5 years that's not like, I want to be with them the rest of my life. Not, I will. Not, this is my soul or my forever. It's a prenup or an already spoken about agreement if you are to break up. Like, it's crazy.
I understand, but I think that is kind of part of the problem, is that you shouldn't be entering a marriage with a, this might be my person.
And
You
I
should
agree.
both you should both be walking into a marriage with the idea that this is my person. I think that's where people get it confused. Like, they think that a relationship is 50-50 and that makes 100, but realistically, a relationship is 100-100. And the reason that they say your partner picks up the slack is because on the days where you're sick or you're emotionally done or your mental health took off on a side rail and going nowhere into a brick wall, your partner's there to throw a pillow in front of the brick wall before you hit. Like, that's what they mean by picking up the slack. They don't mean that on your good days you're only doing 50%, showing up 50%. No, you show up 100% every day that you can. And on the days that you can't, that's where you balance each other out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like I definitely think that in a lot of ways that they thought about relationships back then was way healthier, like the forever commitment, like the we're gonna tough it out, we're like my husband's gonna go to war and I'm still gonna be here waiting for him faithfully. Like that part of their relationships was beautiful. And honestly, like our grandfathers and our grandmothers romanticizing that so much to us is probably what has kept faith in marriages alive, because some of them had some amazing stories.
And some of them didn't start out great. Like some of the older couples, those were even some arranged marriage that they didn't even know each other before they got married. They met at the altar, didn't even know each other, but because they had this foundation of we work it out, we talk through the things, we compromise, we communicate, they grew up this fucking beautiful love stories. And you're like, how could you meet somebody at the altar, not know a damn thing about them, and fall in love with them and create a beautiful life? Like that's some skill. And
Right?
yet
'Cause
they didn't even have half of the tools that we have. And instead of embracing those tools to try and recreate that for ourselves, we're like, how about we use this to cut every connection we can? It's like,
hey,
wait, stop.
hey, I'm starting to feel attacked.
No, not really. But maybe unintentionally a little bit salting some of the wounds up. Not intentionally though. It's
I
just
know.
you know that this is something that's been on my mind for a long time too.
Yeah.
And I think that it's the when I say this, I don't just mean intimate relationships. I know we are talking about intimate
Yeah.
relationships right now, but I really mean all your relationships. Like people have taken it to use vulnerability as a weapon instead of as the tool to be open to working through conflict and learning and growing and becoming a better human, a more well-rounded human.
Yeah, I will definitely agree there. Like, I feel like communities in a lot of ways used to be so much stronger. It was normal to have a friend your entire life that you still wrote letters to back and forth, even if they moved across the country. Like, I I do miss that aspect of how things were. Like, I would love to still be close to a lot of the people I was, but that's not how society works, and that's unfortunately not really how my brain works most of the time. So, well, you know, you're my best friend, and I stay in communication with you. And some days I'm like, I'm so sorry, I love you. The batteries are off
Yeah.
today.
I feel it. But that kind of ties into the next part, the swipe and solo era of the 2000 to the 2020s. 20% of US adults feel daily loneliness. Gen Z, 37% aren't dating. Only 45% of teens date now versus 80% in the 2000s.
I did not
Yeah, and
know
that's
that.
straight out the New York Post.
Wow.
Um, in-person friend time among 15 to 24-year-olds dropped from 70% from 2003 to 2020 to 2020, 150 minutes to around 40 minutes a day. And that's from the Surgeon General Social Connection Report. Therapist Esther Perel says the primary reason people cheat is due to deadness in the relationship. Restore aliveness through curiosity, differentiation, engage in meaningful conversation, and incorporate play. And that comes straight out of her interview, which can be found online. I believe on her website as well. Her name is Esther Perel. But like that right there is a big thing that is so prevalent these days is that people are constantly getting cheated on. And like back in my day, like back in the 80s and the 70s, like cheating was not very often. And when it was not society accepted by society. It was shunned. There was like negative consequences to that. Whereas nowadays it's almost accepted and applauded.
Yeah.
Whereas um back then it was more of somebody that had like a sex addiction that needed to get therapy for that or something. It wasn't like I just hate my wife or my family. And now it's kind of like I'm just bored and my wife didn't pay attention to me today because she was busy with 5 kids, a job, and cleaning the house and cooking dinner. So I'm gonna go find some street rat down the street and just take care of business real quick. And gross, just gross.
Yeah.
But also like that kind of comes into play where you should have open communication where it's like, listen, I need you to, if you're home all day, today is going to be your day with the kids. I'm going to balance my job and then picking up when I get home and making dinner so that you and I can have some role play later in the bedroom once we get the kids down. Like, it also is a let's talk about it and initiate as well. And don't leave it all on your partner. Well, he's just an asshole.
Yeah.
Because that's not realistic either. Because if you just come at somebody with no solution and all attack, they're going to come at you with all defense and no compromise.
Man, it's like what I tell my kid all the time. I cannot read your mind. I wish I could, just so I could cut this middleman bullshit out and figure what you're thinking out, but I can't. You have to say words out your mouth to me if you need something or whatever.
Yeah. And therapist Georgia Grace says dating apps and the fear of vulnerability are significant obstacles. Many are surprised by the lack of direct communication. Confidence in dating can be cultivated actively. Embracing vulnerability is essential, and that's from the Daily Telegraph interview. Social health now equals physical health. Loneliness linked to 50% higher mortality, and that's from Wired magazine on social health. Like, they're now realizing that we are so lonely as a society that 50% of our lifespan is cut for those of us that are single and alone. Because whether we want a relationship, and this is why I said unintentionally putting salt in some of the wounds to you earlier, because whether we want a relationship or don't want a relationship for intimacy reasons, the human psyche and the human body craves connection and physical touch. Without those things, we slowly die.
Well, humans, whether we like it or not, especially if you're like me and you want all the people to leave you the fuck alone, like it or not, we are pack creatures. Our brain is literally hardwired to seek out company, to need people around. And when we don't have that, our brains immediately, whether we realize it or want it to happen, goes into, why is my pack shunning me? What have I done? And that creates a deeper feeling of loneliness, especially if you're somebody that's never gone to therapy, never done any of your shadow work. That can be very hard to confront.
Yeah. And I know that it's not always easy in today's day and age, but that's kind of why we need to start taking the tools that we have available to us today and start really self-applying them, because we don't want to go back. We don't want to go back into silence and survival and abuse. That's not where we're trying to be. We want to evolve as humans. But we can take the commitment and the communication and the compassion of the past and combine it with the tools of today and take it forward in a better way. Like the Gottman Institution Principles for Lasting Love. She bulletproofs them down into basic sections for lasting love. Build love maps, know each other's world, share fondness and admiration, turn toward instead of away when your person is looking for connection with you, even if it feels annoying and clingy. That is on you to fulfill that need if that's your person. Yes, sometimes it's annoying. You know, my kid annoys the fuck out of me a lot. And yet, even in those moments, I will stop and let him have his moment. And then I will tell him, hey, I really need you to understand that while I love you and I want to give you that space when I can, I also need you to understand I'm my own human that has my own things, my own thoughts, and my own likes and wants. And when I'm
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of doing those things, it's not fair for you to interrupt just because all of a sudden you want to talk to me. What it is fair for you is to say, hey, when you have a chance, can you make time for me so we can sit down and go over all these cool things that I just found and want to share and want you to be a part of? Sure, absolutely. That's wonderful. And I want to do all of those things, but I need you to understand that we both have things that draw our attention and that make us light up. And you need to respect mine as much as I respect yours.
Yeah.
And for him, that turned on a whole new perspective for him, because then it wasn't mom was attacking him when she didn't want to listen. It was mom's busy, and as soon as mom has the time, she's going to direct that energy to me. So great, now I want to connect more often because it's not a blow off, it's I'm busy.
Yeah.
Maintain a positive perspective, manage conflict, make life dreams come true. You can't set goals and then just ignore them and expect that the relationship isn't going to suffer because of them. If you have goals as a couple, you have to pursue them. And if you have goals as an individual, you have to be supportive as the partner to make those happen too, not just the ones you want to be a part of.
Yeah, exactly. That's not a partnership. If you're just doing the
Right.
things you want to, you might as well just go off and be single. Mm.
Yeah. Create shared meaning. Trust and commitment as the foundation is the number one thing. People always forget that your person, like, you know how you and I are best friends and we don't really hide anything from each other.
Yeah,
Well, if I have a partner, same applies. In fact, they'll probably know more.
exactly. As they should, because that is the person that, if, and you want marriage, you want your forever, like, which is great, but you should be telling them more than even your best friend knows, because that's going to be the person hopefully you're 90 years old with and shriveled next to. You don't remember each other's names, but you know you love each other. Like, they gotta know some shit.
Well, and if you tell them stuff that's important to you and they immediately go run around sharing it with the world, that's going to tell you something too. And if you bring that to them and they don't care about your feelings, those are the kinds of things the kinds of red flags you want to start getting into therapy for and having assistance to work through.
Yeah, real
But
red flags. Mm.
yeah, but not going, oh, it's red flag, time for divorce. We barely even knew each other. We got married. Now it's time to go. No, no, no.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
That's
think
another.
I was gonna say I think one of the reasons why a lot of marriages do fail now is because they don't really know their partner, and they have no wish or commitment to further knowing their partner in a deeper, more soul connection way once you get married, because it is supposed to bump your marriage or your relationship up. You're not supposed to just stay at the same level you did when you were engaged.
Let's hope not. Not if you're going to be spending the rest of your life together. You go through so many progressions as a human through the years. Like, I've probably been 2 dozen different people in my lifetime already in 40 years. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I've lived so many different lives per se. Um, Gottman also offers a list of tools for helping resolving and repairing conflict, soft startups, self-soothing techniques, using I statements. I will say with I statements, people that are narcissists or have heavy narcissistic tendencies will trample all over your I statements.
Yeah.
So just beware of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, honestly, if you're dealing with, like she said, a narcissist or a sociopath or maybe just a sophisticated abuser, then they will go to therapy. Probably even willingly. And they'll stay there for a while so that they can learn the terminology that they're using and then turn that against you.
Yeah, that's kind of the point of people turning therapy into a weapon, and that's not what we're trying to do here.
Absolutely not.
People need to stop fighting the influence of their partner in their lives. Like, accept that they're your partner. You want them as part of your life. So them having influence over you should not be a bad thing.
Yeah.
Learning to de-escalate and taking breaks, man, taking breaks is a big one. And that doesn't always mean like walking into the other room for 5 minutes. Sometimes that's taking a girls' week and, going to the Bahamas and your partner not contacting you the whole time. And
Yeah,
then
it's
coming
not.
home to them and sharing all of your memories.
Yeah, because it's not a break from your relationship. You are taking physical space. There is a big difference.
Yeah. Overcoming gridlocked issues with compromise. Like, people do not need, I get it. Okay. Your stance is completely different than my stance. That doesn't mean we can't find something in the middle to agree on and find a common ground to come on.
Exactly. And out of all of this, I think Heather and I can agree whether you want to get married, you don't want to get married, you want to be in a relation, you don't. We just want you to find happiness, and whoever you choose to have in your life is a healthy aspect for you.
And you can find more information on it on the Gottman blog on gridlocked conflict. Like, I know that I tend to lately just kind of bring a little bit of my own stories, but more tend to bring sources. But that's because we both want these episodes to hit home. That's why we bring our personal perspectives to it. But I want you to further educate yourself on these things, because these things are helpful for how the world evolves. And right now we are devolving in lots of areas that are going nowhere fast. We need to reconnect as a society, and that doesn't just mean in the intimate relationships. It means in all relationships.
Yeah. And I will say, like, I think, again, one of the things I realized recently is because, like, I wouldn't mind having more friends. I'm finally getting to that point where I'm not, like, everybody's the enemy. But I realized recently I have a very difficult time when people are trying to become my friend. I don't even realize. Like, I had a coworker call me, not for anything work related. We both had stressful days, and she says, like, hey, what's up? We talked for a few minutes. It took me 2 weeks later, after she was no longer working there, and I was like, she was trying to be my friend. Shoot! She was nice too! And now I'm not going to call her back this much later and be like, hello. Yes, I would like to be your friend. I'm sorry. Social cues aren't my thing.
Well, and they actually found a method that works for people to have balanced relationships,
What's up?
and people seem to have just forgotten it. It's the wired 5-3-1 model. And it's not only a great starting place, but it's a great building place. It means 5 face-to-face, in-person conversations socially a week. 3 deep connections, as in close friends and family members, and a minimum of an hour a day socializing, not working, not vegging at home, not online, but actively in person socializing with people.
Well, I have some areas to improve on.
We all do, but that's kind of the point. Like we've all gotten to this place where we have all these tools at our fingertips for connection, and we are less connected than we've ever been.
Yeah, well, it's like what you were talking about, like how dating apps have really affected relationships and things. And one of my things is I'm like, there's thousands and thousands of options. You can just swipe and swipe and swipe and swipe. But I feel like that makes people less connected. They're less willing to talk to actually somebody because, well, somebody's always just a swipe away. Like,
That's true though. Therapists Ian Leslie and Joanna Harrison say arguments help couples stay connected. Conflict is information, gives updated mental models. After arguments, repairing is crucial. And you can find more on that in the Guardian relationship feature. And again, therapist Perel says fight constructively by making requests rather than complaints. Find humor, maintain routines and rituals. That make requests instead of complaints is so important, because if you are like, hey, babe, I really need you to talk to me in a tone that feels compassionate, because when you don't, I get really upset and I immediately want to jump and fight with you, even though that's not your intention. And so it makes me feel really uncomfortable. And I'm really trying to work on that. But if you could meet me halfway by just really having compassion in your voice when you talk to me, that would be super helpful. Instead of saying, you know, you're a fucking dick that's always yelling at me. You talk to me like I'm some kind of piece of shit. What the fuck do you want from me?
yeah, yeah. And like, it's definitely something not just in my romantic relationships, but my everyday relationships that, maybe it's coming with age, maybe it's part of my healing thing, but I do notice the people around me are different because I speak to people different. Like, even if somebody's looking at me for a while, I can just look at them and be like, can I like help you in not a rude way, instead of the fuck's your problem, bitch, as I'm walking up to you. Like, now I do have the possibility of being like, there's a good chance that bitch isn't even looking at me and I'm just in the direction she's zoning out, because I do it.
I do too, all the time.
But
I'll
just,
get lost in thought or disassociate.
yep. But just like to willing to have that openness to be like, not everybody's a dick, Ashley. It has helped my friendships, my romantic relationships, to not on my first assumption to be like, great, let's fight.
Yeah, it definitely changes the way the world approaches you as well.
It does. It's nice.
So, what if therapy became normal like dental cleanings? I have a few questions that I'm just putting out there to the audience. Have we normalized walking away more than working it out? Boy, that's what it seems like. Is the real intimacy now in staying when it's hard? Like, that kind of intimacy is the kind I dream for.
Yeah.
Do we even know how to do relationships anymore? For me, it's not that I don't know, it's just that I don't know how to navigate relationships in the new world that we're in. I am still attempting every day. I put the foot forward, I make connections, I give people opportunities. Often they are not taken, and that's not my fault. I keep on pushing.
And I guess on my part, I'm wondering if you're more leaning towards mine. The fact that marriage is not what it used to be might just be a good thing. We no longer deal with abuse, rape, financial manipulation, and control. But did it come at a cost? Did this independence, not our independence, like we work and we make our own money, but our I need nobody independence, has that taken its toll on society?
From my perspective, it really has. I don't want to be, and this is going to sound weird, but I don't want to be your equal because we're not equal.
No.
Like, I can do things that no man can do. Men can do things that I can't do.
See,
And I am happy to accept those differences.
yeah, for me, I don't want to be a man's equal in because yes, we do different things, but it's also because if I am going to be conned into another relationship, because that is what it will probably be, then I should be your everything unless you have children, and then we should be your everything, just like you and my child will be my everything.
Oh, yeah. For me, loyalty and honesty and communication and working through the hard stuff are like, those are requirements for a relationship for me these days. It's not a maybe. It has to be. And I don't expect people to be perfect because I'm not perfect. And I know that there are times where I am irrational and just out of fucking pocket and a hard person to handle. But I expect that my partner's going to have those same kind of moments on their own, for their own different reasons. And I'm okay with that. I'll sit with you in that dark. I'll sit there while the whole world is pointing fingers at you, telling you to cool down, and I will hug you and say, fuck them. Let them eat shit and die. Melt down all you want. You have me. And then help me leave the situation where I can finish melting down in a more safe, that's the kind of partner I want. I don't want the partner that looks at me and is like, oh, if your makeup's not done, your breath fucking smells. You just woke up. I'm not getting near you. Bro, what? Get your ass over here and give me a full fucking mouth kiss.
Yeah.
You ain't brushing teeth either.
Mm.
You'll hear me, bitch, and get over here. I love you. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess really what it boils down for me that yes, we have made ourselves safer in marriage in so many ways. But we have, in doing and establishing our right to walk away, have we made it to where that's our first instinct? Because I'm one of those, man. Like, like, unless I'm in deep with somebody, like, I am the type of person to be like, vibes off, so sorry, goodbye. Like,
But that's kind of what I'm getting at, that's the product of this generation.
yeah.
And it's the part that sucks.
See,
It just
and
like the abuse and the silence sucked in my generation. The push off, the lack of emotional vulnerability or openness is what sucks in today's day and age. The lack of connection, the lack of interest.
yeah. And I wonder if that's honestly a product of today's generation and what's going on now, or if that's a product of our grandmas taking us to the side and be like, don't you get married. Don't you let no man put a hand on you. You see the first thing, you run because they endured a lifetime of suffering and didn't want their babies to go through it.
Well, my great grandma told me every woman should have a cast iron pan for when a man gets out of line, and yet I'm still not beating down men with cast iron pans, and I'm still believing in love. She also had it was her second or third marriage, but she also had one of the longest marriages, and they were together until they died, like in love, and the beginning of their marriage was not easy. Like it was.
Yeah.
But back then, like even people that had those kind of relationships, they were taught to work it out, find healthier solutions. Like you don't turn your wife into a punching bag. Well, what if she punched me first? Okay, well, can you find a different solution? And maybe then she'll find a different solution.
Never know.
Like they even though they had less emotional intelligence and less tools, they still had common fucking sense.
I think some of them did. Some of them, just like today.
Well, that's the whole world. But there was a lot more common sense there than there ever is today.
I will agree with you there. We didn't need warning labels on every fucking thing in existence. Just saying, like, I don't need these to tell me that they're bad for me. I can feel it when I smoke it.
Yeah, but some people don't, and they need that.
Again, Darwin was not wrong. We should take the warning labels off everything for a year. Just 1 year. And let things work their course.
All right. We're talking about connection, not disconnection.
This is true.
If you love this conversation, or maybe it pissed you off a little, I don't know, hit like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Subscribing is free, people. It doesn't cost a dime.
And it's the best way to help our channel grow.
It is. Because over here, we don't do picture perfect. We do real. And real love, real connection, that shit takes work. Like, people are jigsaw puzzles that are ever changing. So why would your relationship not be ever changing as well and need constant care and work? Like, back in my day, the thing that it still resonates today that they would say is married men would often be like, oh, well, I'm married now, so I don't have to take her out on dates, or I don't have to do these things. And that was the number one thing that caused unhappiness in marriages back then, because it doesn't mean that. Everything you did to get her, or everything she did to get you still has to happen. Like,
Exactly.
yes, things may be a little bit different living together. Like, no, she's not going to wear makeup every hour of the day that you're around. That's unrealistic. No, she's not going to be dolled up. Some days she's not going to shower and she's just going to have BO, and that's unfortunate for you or your nostrils, but it's real. Same as you're going to come home from a sweaty day at work and she's not going to care. She's just going to want to wrap her arms around you. Those moments are real and they're important. So, thanks everybody for showing up today. We'll definitely be back here again. Keep raging, keep loving. Just remember, no matter what you're doing, do it with your whole damn heart.
Yes. And we love you.
We do. See you next time.
We're also available on Spotify. We said what we said, and we're just getting started. Thanks for listening. Now go rage responsibly. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you soon.